Musk has been in the headlines for quite a while now, like, hey, at times it does become too difficult to track what the man is up to at this moment. But we're pretty sure of the one thing that loads of people have actually kept a track about. We're talking about the Starship launch, an event that Musk has been trying to achieve for over 3 long years and has finally reached the line just a few months back. So, what is the Starship? Why are people so excited about it being successfully launched? Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, and today we're going to be talking all about the Starship and more. In just 2 words, the Starship is a game changer. Of course, most of the things that SpaceX comes up with is a game changer. After all, founding ethos of Elon Musk's private spaceflight company SpaceX was to make life multiplanetary. If an asteroid does hit us someday, settling across other planets would surely place some of the eggs in other baskets. And this is Elon Musk we're talking about, a man who's well known about his idea to colonize the red planet. The thing is, realizing and making his dream come true requires a vehicle that's up to the task, among a hell lot of other things of course. But we're already having an answer to the vehicle program. Let's introduce you to the Starship. Starship is a rocket and spacecraft combination that could ferry more than 100 people at a time to the red planet. So why not talk a little bit more about this new icon of space travel? At launch, our spacecraft Starship will sit atop a rocket called Super Heavy. This combined system stands at a whopping 394 feet. Let's take the spacecraft first. With its nose cone and landing fins, the stainless steel vehicle resembles the rocket ships from the golden age of science fiction straight out of a movie. At the rear end of our Starship are 6 highly efficient Raptor engines. These didn't come easy though. Engineers at SpaceX spent nearly a decade trying to give it the right touch. The combustion takes place in stages, and the engine's design cuts the amount of propellant that's wasted. Towards the middle of the vehicle are the propellant tanks, and towards the front is a huge payload compartment that'll be able to haul large cargo or people to destinations in deep space. Now, remember the normal rocket engines you see? Well, Musk went a whole different way. He used methalox for the Starship, a prudent choice for that huge plan of settling in Mars. You see, methane can be easily synthesized from the Martian surface with a bit of science. The man really thought about it all. So once you reach Mars, the return journey is self-sufficient and cost-effective. Basically, it's a win-win. But enough about the Starship. We are here to talk about the big launch. When is it going to happen? Well, the vague answer is 2021, but then we just have a few more months left for this year to end. So why isn't it happening already? In the last few years, SpaceX has tested various prototypes of the upper stage at its Starbase facility in Boca Chica, Texas. It all started off in 2019 with a 39-meter-tall test article, which was called Starhopper. After previous attempts to fly the Starship, right this year in May, a 6.5-kilometer ride ended in explosions on the ground. Luckily enough, the prototype SN-15 finally stuck the landing and it remained in one piece. Indeed, it was a pretty big victory. Initially, following the successful flight and landing of SN-15, there was talk that the prototype might be reflown. After all, the Starbase facility has seen a series of increasingly dramatic Starship prototype test flights over the past few years. Coming up with new things in impossible deadlines was a cakewalk for them. Even until recently, both Musk and SpaceX President GWYNNE SHOTWELL have been talking up a debut flight for Super Heavy and first trip to space for Starship, which was supposed to be coming in July. So, after all the promises, what is the hitch? Why is the Starship flight delayed? Turns out that a recent Federal Communications Commission application from SpaceX requests permission to add Starlink terminals to Starship during its first orbital flight. Here's the thing though, the period requested in the permit application runs from the month of August to October. In fact, an earlier FCC filing did reveal some of the major details of what SpaceX is planning for Starship's first short trip to space. SpaceX is planning for a new prototype, which will most likely be the SN-20, to leave the atmosphere and then re-enter on its first orbit and attempt a soft splashdown off the coast of the Hawaiian island of Kauai in the Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, the Super Heavy booster will try to land back at Starbase in Texas. If things have gone right and the permit application is filed in time, there is a slight possibility that we might get to see some Starship action sooner than the very end of this year. While the SN20 is being readied for its trip to the Aloha's Day, or at least the waters nearby, the older version SN16 is still coming together at Boca Chica. Keeping aside the permits, another major reason why we aren't still seeing the Starship launch to space is a programmatic environmental assessment by the FAA. And here's the bigger hitch. Until SpaceX is fully licensed and crosses the environmental regulations with flying colors, they aren't authorized to launch the Starship. As usual, FAA assay takes 3 or 4 months. Sadly for SpaceX as well as for all of us, the FAA has released just the draft document till now. Putting 2 and 2 together, SpaceX's chances of getting all the clearances before the end of the year look slim, and we might see the company's orbital test timeline pushed back even more. Elon's company does have 2 major Starship missions scheduled for the near future. One is the Deer Moon flight, which was announced way back in 2018. This mission will be sending Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa and a team of 8 other civilians on a trip around the moon in 2023. The other one is the much-anticipated NASA's ARTEMIS mission. As we talked about earlier, the Starship is expected to serve as the human lander. Even more importantly, this will be NASA's first crewed mission to the moon since 1972. Although expected for 2024, Musk has dropped some fair hints that this could happen sooner. But hey, to carry these astronauts from the Orion spacecraft to the moon's surface, the Starship will have to go to the moon first. That means SpaceX will have to get to orbit. And that definitely means every single person is eagerly awaiting the FAA clearance. Beyond all these plans which have the Starship in the center, SpaceX aims to send the first humans to Mars by the mid-2020s. The year we have on our calendars is 2026, and from there comes the Elon Musk dream to establish a self-sustaining city on the planet by 2050. Musk himself estimates that this would require around 1 million tons of cargo. Again, we are tied to the Starship. In other words, when Earth and Mars are at their closest every 26 months, SpaceX would launch a fleet of rockets. Doing this 10 times means SpaceX could build the city in around 22 years, which means it would have to send the first fleet of rockets around 2028. The race is on. Funnily enough, the starting gun is a FAA clearance.